Today's Acoustic Alternatives, well, looks a little different, doesn't it? We've done a few away from Grove Studios, the place that I started doing the podcast. Every now and then an opportunity presents itself to bring me to the home or homes of the artists that either have more convenient spaces than Grove Studios, or maybe they play piano or something. But in this case, Studio 2188 is Ben Daniels' studio, and today we're going to be speaking with Ben and his father, who you might know from such films as The Purple Rose of Cairo, Terms of Endearment, Pleasantville, Dumb and Dumber, perhaps my non-favorite musical thing he's done, the role of Will McAvoy in The Newsroom, in which he gets to sing and play guitar in the finale, or perhaps you know him as a stage actor. I didn't have the pleasure of seeing him on Broadway, but you may not know he's been releasing music since 2004's Live and Unplugged. Today my guest is Jeff Daniels. Hello, Jeff.
How are you, John?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
There's this new Audible project called Alive and Well Enough, and for me, it's because I'm familiar with your albums. It feels like the best way to introduce the songs with the full stories that lead up to the songs.
Yeah, some of that is very true. I've been gigging since I think I went out on stage at the Purple Rose back in 2001. Up until then, I'd just been playing guitar and writing songs on my back porch or my apartment in New York or something, with real no intention of doing anything with them. Just, it was an artistic kind of outlet that I did between phone calls of, acting jobs. And there were weeks and months of that. So I kind of got talked into this because not even 2 years ago, my agent called and said, you're the only actor without a podcast, And I'm going, oh, and that's a problem? Why? And
Can't I just rest?
And I said, look, I'll try, but I'm only going to do it one way. I'm not going to, don't make me call up celebrities and say, hey, can you do my podcast for me? And I'm not going to do that. I'll do a one-man something. Because I knew I had the stories that lead up to the songs when I do a gig at the Arc or wherever, Purple Rose. The story is 10 minutes of, and then it can be 10 to 15 minutes long, depending on how I'm, the audience.
I've seen you. So.
Yeah, and that comes from seeing people like Utah Phillips, Arlo Guthrie, Stevie Goodman, Prine. John Prine was like that, but really kind of making it, can you hold an audience for 90 minutes sitting in a chair with an acoustic guitar? How do you do that? And it's not easy. But that was kind of the basis for the podcast, which then Audible Originals picked up because it had kind of turned into a memoir, and yet it's kind of an audio adventure because suddenly I'm writing scenes and playing both parts and pulling a scene out of Escanaba in the Moonlight, the play I wrote, and playing all 5 parts. Like an audio book, which Ben and I we've done a bunch of those in here. So it became more than just the gig, on a podcast or an audio. It became a lot of things. And coming up with stuff like Snack Time with Harry Dunn, where Harry Dunn from Dumb and Dumber interviews the actor who played him in the movie. And I got to write both parts and play it, and there are 3 seconds. And it's like, where else in memoir world?
Nowhere.
Does that, right?
No.
And so we thought, this is either going to, big crash and burn, or it's going to be unlike the 700 million other podcasts up there, which how hard is that? And apparently it's so different. That it's, people are liking it, and the reviews have been good, and so here comes season 2 pretty soon, and I hope season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It's fun. I enjoy writing it. I enjoy doing it. It's like the perfect platform for all the things that I do, whether it's the playwriting, the acting, the songwriting, you name it. I get to do it all on Alive and Well Enough.
Like old-time radio.
Yeah, which I like. Bob and Ray and all those guys. And the sound effects that we do.
It's fun. I mean, it was a fun listen.
And I also said, I got to entertain these people.
Yeah.
I cannot do something where, 1955, I was born in Athens. I'm not going to, no, I got to entertain you. And I'm just playing to one person. We figured that out real soon. This isn't the Arc. This isn't even the Power Center in Ann Arbor or the Fox Theater in Detroit. You're playing to one person, the one person who's listening. And that's, there's some fun and art to that. It's been fun to kind of figure it out.
The best piece of advice I got when I was starting to do college radio at Henry Ford College was talk to one person when you're on the radio. There's one person listening in their car alone. They're in the shower, wherever they're listening, but they're alone. They're not. Right. It isn't a hey everybody experience when you're talking on the radio.
Yeah, and it makes it more personal.
Right.
You're talking to one person like you're sitting at a coffee shop telling them this, and then suddenly it's in a way that lets them in more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything was recorded here, and Ben, you've been using this as a recording studio. Do you record other acts here as well?
Yes, we have not once COVID happened, it kind of hunkered down, obviously. But before that, there's a few bands coming in and did some live stream. Jason Denny came and did a live stream in here. Rochelle, so that was kind of tried that. It was fun though. It's a great space to be creative and hide away. There's only one window, so you don't know what time it is. It's nice.
It's made for music?
Yeah.
Well, since we've established that, how about a song before we talk some more?
Okay. Sure. Acoustic alternatives, right? Okay, so this is the song that every guitar player writes to his guitar. Stevie Earle did one. I think Guy Clark did one. There are others, but anyway, this is mine. You were there when I was falling. You were there when I fell in love. You were there when I was thinking through all them things I was thinking of. You were always right beside me, never out of sight. You turned my never-evers into maybe I just might. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. My thunder turns to lightning, you rain sunshine on my day. When that melody's in me, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your strings. When I'm left all by my lonesome, you know just how I feel. When I'm down, you come around my corner on two wheels. And every time I try to run, you catch me in a lie. And every time I try to run, you just won't let me hide. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. My thunder turns to lightning, rain, sunshine on my day. And that melody's in me, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your string. You're the sunrise in my morning, you're the warm wind through my night. You dance me through my darkness and you lead me to the light. You answer all my questions and you finish what I start. And when I'm at a loss for words, you find them in my heart. I hold you oh so carefully, I handle you with care. I never leave without you, I just take you everywhere. We both know I'm less without you. We both know it's plain to see. I ain't holding you, my friend. You who's holding me. Your pearly gates fly open when I bow my head and pray. My thunder turns to lightning, rain, sunshine on my day. And that melody's in me. I can hear your choir sing. When that melody's in me, oh, I hear your choir sing. Melody's in me, oh, I can hear your choir sing. When my fingers find your strings. Not bad for an actor.
It's
you
beautiful.
know. I'm not bad for an actor.
I'm a fan of your music, honestly. I've played you on the radio many times in the past.
Thank you.
No, I genuinely enjoy your music, and that's a great song from your back catalog, When My Fingers Find Your Strings. Jeff Daniels is one of my two guests on the podcast. Ben, his son, is also joining us today as you recorded the audiobook and engineered it, and we've kind of got a collaborative project here of two people who you both grew up in Chelsea, right? I know you did, because this is where you spent most of your life here as well, or all of it?
Grew up here and went to school here and didn't have the grades to get into Michigan, so I went to Central and then dropped out after 3 years. But Eastern Michigan played certainly a role in that. I was sitting in the CMU, Central Michigan Library, not studying, and I saw an ad for auditions for a 4-play rep festival down in Ypsilanti at Eastern. And I'd kind of done really well at Central in the acting department, and it was third year, and I'm going, well, let's go down there and see how I measure up against kids from around the state. Long story short, I got into that, and one of the directors had come out from New York, Marshall W. Mason from Circle Rep, and he was kind of 5-6 years into Circle Rep, but they were like a hot off-Broadway company. And he knew Jim Gussoff, who was the head of the department, the theater department at Eastern that time. They had gone to school together at Northwestern. So basically, pretty sure, Marshall, why don't you come out, pick up a check, direct some college kids, go back to New York, which he did. And I was one of those kids. And he saw enough to say to me, you know what you should do with your life, don't you? And so goodbye Central Michigan and Eastern after the 4-play rep, and moved to New York when I was 21.
Was there ever anything else you wanted to do when you were a kid?
I wasn't even sure I wanted to do this. I was just told I was really good at it. I knew I was good at it. I could be in a musical in the community play and hold a 700 people standing room only audience who were there to see me for some reason. I'm good at it. I can get on a stage, and I knew how to time a joke at 18 in front of 700 people. That was kind of, okay, there's something to that. And then, Central I did well, and so maybe I should go to New York and, last as long as I can. And then when I fail, I'll come back to Michigan and work at the lumber company, which the family business. That was the plan. And I succeeded just enough every year. I was not an overnight success. I mean, I was off Broadway, and Terms of Endearment was 7 years into New York. That was the big break.
When did you pick up a guitar?
Before I moved to New York in September of 1976, I went up to Herb David's guitar shop, looked at a bunch of Gibsons and Guilds, and bought a Guild D40 for $400. Threw it in the back of the car. I knew 3 chords plus E minor. And I figured, I had played piano and I'd been in musicals and I liked music. How hard can an acoustic guitar be? Is kind of how I went at. I can at least do that. I had no intention other than just keep myself creatively occupied while I waited for the phone to ring. And then it just turned into this whole other thing that acoustic guitars can do. They just pull you in.
Was there ever a time you thought, I would love to be a traveling musician, and never, maybe it eclipsed the acting part of your your brain?
I thought the career was in trouble enough to consider that seriously. About 2002, 3, 4, the roles were drying up. The money wasn't there anymore. And the travel, you were starting to go down the call sheet, as they say. Number one on the call sheet's the star. 2, 3, 4, 5, now you're number 17. And now it's like, we're going in the wrong direction here. So I don't want to go out like this. So maybe we'll downsize and I'll be that traveling musician. I have a feeling I probably would have ended up at the lumber company and would have played gigs at Cleary's in Chelsea. That's probably what I would have done. But I kept succeeding just enough.
Yeah.
And took a run at theater as a way to get back into it. And I did a play called Blackbird off Broadway, which was a tough play to do, but we were the show to see. And that got me God of Carnage, which was with Jim Gandolfini, and that was Broadway, and we were a big hit. And then out of God of Carnage, I got Newsroom. One led to the other. And once I got Newsroom and everything that happened with that, I bought 10 years.
Pretty good story.
Well, it's, longevity is a bitch.
So Ben, your story also includes Eastern. You went to school there too, didn't you?
Yeah, like 2 years. Went to play hockey mostly. That's just kind of, it was aimless at that time. Just it was good enough to play for their club team, but then we got suspended halfway through. The whole team got shut down, so I ended up going from there to an audio engineering school in Arizona.
Okay.
I realized I was really into the behind-the-scenes recording, and that was the right thing to do. So it's good to get away for a second, but then came right back here and started recording myself and a lot of his stuff. But that's kind of how I got started writing. I was always writing like rap songs and rap lyrics and recording that, but then I started playing guitar in Arizona, and I would practice writing to practice recording, and it was just a cycle that kind of turned into here we are.
I was wondering when you went to Eastern if it had a program for audio engineering, because I'm like, if it does, I'm working there. I should take it just for fun, but no, apparently not.
There was something, I can't remember what it was. There's a studio though, but
yeah, I think I know where that is.
I barely remember that, but I was there.
I remember when I remember in high school, I was playing guitar and blues, boom, 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 boom. I said, guitar's fun, if you ever want to learn. He goes, yeah, well, hockey, girls. So, okay, all right, no problem, girls. No problem. And then I forget whenever it was, but he decided he was ready. He walked into my office and he goes, I'm ready.
That's your guitar
5
teacher?
years later, I'm ready. I said, for what? He goes, to learn how to play guitar. I said, okay, let's go to Herb David's. So we went down to Herb David's. We got something that looked like a Martin, like a Takamine.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was like, okay, because this may not work. So we'll spend $200 on it. And if it lasted a week, okay. But he's been playing ever since. And I told Ben, I said, covers are great. I love to play some covers, but write your own stuff. Just whether it goes anywhere or not, just write your own stuff. And they play their own stuff pretty much, the albums and the this and the that. And he's, this place that we're in is more of a writing place, People come here and play a little bit. Yeah. But you can write in here,
If I got my facts right, your first album came out 4 years after your first album, so not that much different. And when you both started releasing music, I think 2004 and 2008, if I did my research right.
Well, that was the beauty of the internet. You didn't need a record label.
Right. Yeah.
You could just do it yourself, which is like, okay. Which for me and for Ben, I mean, I'm not going to sit down with his songs and go, okay, you need the second verse, you need to change that, which is what a label might do, or somebody trying to, if you wrote it differently, you might be able to sell it to somebody in Nashville. Like, it's not.
Which could have helped, but it's
could have helped.
I mean, some of it's pretty.
If you stumble into that,
I can see my learning curve getting better and better as they go on. So it's
like
good.
Any job, you get better at it.
Just putting it out there is.
He's sitting now. You're like, you've got, you want to. There's a gig coming up, but you're also the writing head is going. There are 5 songs that ideas for. Mm-hmm. He was telling me the other night. That's always going on.
Yeah, I can see what I want it to be. I can see what I want our show to be. it might take a couple months to get it ready there. Now getting out of little baby kit, little toddlers and stuff, I'm starting to come out of this cloud so I can.
New material,
yeah,
though.
Right. All new material.
That's the thing, for both of us. There's all right. What are you gonna create next?
Yeah.
What song are you gonna create next? What play? Whatever. He's got his lyric idea, chord progression. What's next? You never stop. You can't. Jim Carrey told me that. I said, Jim, I'm thinking about giving it up. I've had a good run. He goes, you can't, man. We're like sharks. We're swimming around. We got to swim or we'll die. And we got to create or we'll die. You can't quit, man. You can't. And I'm going, okay, he's right. Doesn't mean you have to be star in movies or TV shows. No. You create every day doing something. Even local people, amateur people who are, 3 chords plus E minor. You can do that, and you can create something that's just yours. And maybe someday you play it for somebody, And
if nothing else, it becomes a podcast called Alive and Well Enough, and people talk about the stories behind the songs.
Or that, But
it's a creative outlet in its own way.
It's the creative act that I think is alive and well in this place, and it's with both of us.
It's cool. I'm glad I finally got to see it in person, because, I knew it was here. Yeah. I knew it existed. So, Jeff, 50 years of songwriting under your belt. After buying your first guitar in 1976, by the time you released your first album, you'd already been writing songs for a long time. How did you decide which ones made it to that first record?
Oh, the first record was, let's do some live performances at the Purple Rose to raise money.
Yeah.
No one knew I played for the first 10 years of Purple Rose. No one knew I played. I never brought the guitar in. No one knew. And then Lanford Wilson, who was a mentor of mine at Circle Rep, Pulitzer Prize winning playwright, we commissioned him. Out he came to write a play, and he knew I had written a song. He knew I wrote. He'd known since 76, 77. And one of them was a song that he gave me, a poem called Road Signs. A long, 9-minute, 10-minute, epic poem about a bus trip he took from Missouri to Chicago as a young man. And I turned that into an acoustic guitar number. And we're sitting in the bar, we're sitting in Cleary's in Chelsea after rehearsal of this play that we commissioned him to do. And the guy in the corner of Cleary's took a break, and he said, go play Road Signs. I said, nobody knows I play. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. No, get up there. No, I'm not going to get up there. Fuck. Up I go. I play Road Signs, and people can't believe it. An actor with a guitar usually is close to William Shatner. I mean, I completely get it. And so that became the impetus to, let's put you on stage in a chair between Christmas and New Year's and raise some badly needed money. So that became a terror-filled education. That first album was probably a culmination of the first 3 years of Christmas shows to get over the nerves and the sweat stains and the flops. I mean, it was the nakedness. You don't have a character to hide behind. It's just you and that song you wrote about your mother, and it's suddenly tough to get through. I wasn't prepared for that. But you learn how to do it. And then there's a character who walks out in a fedora, and it's a character. It's Jeff when he's in a good mood, and here's the show. That becomes the character.
Yeah.
That's the secret to talk shows, too. I know what's Letterman going to ask me, but it's you in a good mood. Go. And then suddenly you can do it. But so that was kind of the impetus to kind of get playing out, and then I just enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it, and I'd bring Ben up on stage some Christmases, and his band up on stage other times. So we've been doing it almost 20 years now. Missed a couple, but. Yeah, I enjoy it.
I saw it a few times. Sometimes I can afford it, sometimes I can't. Working in radio is not...
Raising money. Yes. We're raising money.
I know, but I said, look at current ticket prices for major shows. It's like, well, that's a steal now.
We're cheaper than that.
Yeah, we're cheaper than going to see most major shows at this point. So when it comes around again this Christmas, I'm going to have to pay attention. Make sure you get tickets this time. Before, this would have been an observation I would have made if I'd interviewed you 20 years ago. Before even listening to the audiobook, when hearing, actually it wouldn't have been 20 years ago, but whatever. Hearing their first album, when I heard Recreational Vehicle, I heard Alice's Restaurant. Mm-hmm. And there's the parallel drawn in the book, the audiobook. I'm calling it a book because I don't know what else to call it. Podcast, book.
They want me to call it an audio memoir so as not to lose the memoir people, because it is.
Yeah.
But it's certainly an audio adventure, that's for sure.
Do you still have the RV?
No, got rid of. We went through about 3 or 4 of them. Nope, done. But Alice's Restaurant was I want to write my Alice's Restaurant. I just need a story. I had the chord progression for 2 years, waiting for something that I could, a talking blues on top of that. Yeah. And then what happened to us in Erie, Pennsylvania with a recreational vehicle happened to us. And
is Ben the one who said, Mom's not here, or was it the other son?
That was Luke. That was my other son. Ben was just, I think.
I remember I was like up high on like a bunk bed up high, looking down to see her phone in the seat or whatever. I remember that.
We had video games, 3 kids, and a rented RV. We got gas at a truck stop. I got recognized as Jeff Bridges. I get back in the 28-foot Jayco. I pull out of the truck stop, and Luke, my son, says, Dad, where's Mom? We left her at the truck stop. So
I assume she helped you draw the rest of the picture out because you weren't with her when she was with the Jesus freak who was looking after her.
No, that became her side of the story, which I took notes on. And then 3 months later was on Letterman pushing a movie, and he said, how was your summer? And I said, well, here it goes. That's when it kind of was born.
That's a favorite in our household. We love that one. That's a good one. Songwriting as storytelling really is what it turns out to be when I listen to your music. You obviously write things that aren't songs, but when it becomes a song, it's you writing a short play, I guess, in a way, right?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I'm certainly aware of the 3-act structure that stories demand. That goes back to the Greeks, and you got to get somewhere, and then what happens, good or bad, that's in a lot of my stuff. I have a few where you can just capture a moment and then get a good hook for that moment and then just pound it and stay in that moment, not go anywhere, and just ruminate on that moment and then repeat the hook 75 times and you've got a hit. I understand that, but Utah Phillips told stories, Stevie Goodman was funny. Christine Lavin is funny.
True.
Those were the guys, and with Christine, Cheryl Wheeler as well. Those were the people that when they would come through the Arc in Ann Arbor, I'd see them and go, what are they doing? Because I think I can figure out how to do that. But I'm being an actor now, so I won't worry about that. But that's of interest to me. And then when the career slowed down, I've done like 500 gigs, which, for an actor is, working movies. But I was flying all over, playing the Arcs all over the country, clubs, opera houses. We'd tour with Ben's band, all the Midwest tour. We went to Northeast spin, at least twice. Infinity Hall, Birchmere, City Winery, New York. Yeah, we hit them. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It's not great money, but you're a troubadour. And if that's where I landed, at least I was being creative and felt like I was still doing what I could do versus just giving up. So that was kind of the plan.
If people check out the Audible book Alive and Well Enough, they will hear the stories and they will hear songs included in the chapters. Some of them I know are from the actual recordings that have been released, but it also sounds like some of them are newly recorded. Is that true? Like you recorded a few of the songs over?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we recorded a couple sitting right here just to throw on the podcast or the audio memoir, and but a lot of them were pulled from
the previous
2006, 1970 something.
Yeah, I still got that reel-to-reel tape player in there somewhere, and that's what I would put stuff on. Me and a friend, John Hogan, another Circle Rep actor, who was doing a similar thing with his acoustic guitar and that reel-to-reel where you you get 3 tracks and you bounce the 3 tracks down to 1 track. And now you can go back and do 2 more tracks, but then you got to bounce all those tracks down to the 1. And, it's okay until you've got 16 tracks of whatever on there, and it's just...
Tape is stretched.
Analog is just, there's the thing. But there's some archival demos that I made off the reel-to-reels that, they're, I mean, it's a poor man's Dylan,
Sure.
but still, it's
a peek inside.
They're there.
Young you.
It's the young 26-year-old actor singing into a reel-to-reel.
Yeah.
And I kind of like pulling those out, and I got a bunch of them.
Might be a good time for another song. What song would you like to do?
I'll do one just so I can change the capo after for our together song.
Okay.
So it's a Ben song.
Yeah.
Ben's playing the Ark on October 6th with his band, the Ben Daniels Band. If you're listening to this before then, tickets are available at theark.org. Introduce the song, Ben.
Oh, it doesn't really have a name yet because I just wrote it, but we'll call it Waiting for You. Right off the old coastline, we had to say goodbye, even though it felt like we just arrived. We were just getting started then, and now it's way back when. What a time to be alive. And one day it'll all be gone. If I've gone before you, darling, there's only one thing left to do. So live it right until your days are through. And I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you like I always do. Running on caffeine and weed, dirty table but the plates are clean. Another night watching the stars come out. Your mind was full that I could tell. We said nothing but we said it well. Sometimes quiet sounds like a distant yell. And one day it'll all be gone. If I'm gone before you, darling, there's only one thing left to do. Live it right until your days are through. And I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you like I always do. I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you. I will be waiting for you like I always do.
Really good.
That's nice. Ben Daniels, one of the two guests on the Acoustic Alternatives program today, not at Grove Studios today, not in Ypsilanti at all. We're in Chelsea, Michigan, where Ben and Jeff both recorded the Audible book, Alive and Well Enough. And Ben's got a show coming up with his band, again, October 6th at the Ark. How did you find your bandmates? Were they schoolmates of yours here in Chelsea?
Yeah, we all went to Chelsea High School. The bass player was a closer friend of mine at the time, so we just kind of... He hadn't even played bass before, and so I had all these songs, and he was like, I knew he was really interested in that, so we just got a bass and started doing that. But we got our guitar player George, who was a jazz major at Western, so we knew if we added him, just be a trio for now, and it was did that for a couple years, and then our drummer, also a Chelsea kid, was a great mandolin player, but we had him play drums for some reason. But he
loves drums.
No, he does. He just likes to beat the crap out of things, so it works. But but then we can get him on mandolin here and there, and we're all from Chelsea. All have been together since then, so it's pretty great. All great friends.
Yeah. It's a fun band, and I'm nothing against them, but hearing that song that way, leave it alone. Don't add anything to that. I think it lives really well the way you just performed it.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, just if you added more stuff, I would probably lose what you're presenting to me. And I mean, I remember
that's the trick we're trying to figure out how to.
Sometimes you have to be solo.
Right.
It does have your name on the band. I mean, they'd understand. They're good guys.
That's one maybe for mandolin. Yeah, I will take your
mandolin.
Yeah,
I can hear mandolin on that.
Can have multiple versions of it.
Sure. Your first visit to me when I was working at that radio station in Ann Arbor, you performed a few songs, and I played Baby Doll quite a bit from that. Yeah. That was like the thing. Every time you had a show coming up, I would like, oh, it's got a show coming up. I'll play this one. And I'd play that performance. Its song stuck with me for years.
We'll play that. We haven't played that in a while. It's a good one to bring. Yeah,
it is a good one.
Good fun.
Well, for a while, your wife was in your band.
Mm-hmm.
When you chose her as a bandmate, did you know you were also going to be choosing her as a wife, perhaps?
Oh, I thought so. I think we were together before the band, or like got married before the band even. But yeah, 5-year-old daughter, so she's and another kid who's she's been super busy. I mean, we've both been busy with kids, but once that happened, it was hard for her to go to play bar gigs till midnight.
Oh yeah.
So I think she'll get back out there in the future, but she's got a hell of a voice too. So she said, just shake the nerves off a little bit. I get it.
She sings beautifully on one of Dad's records.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Back when you were into me.
That's a great.
That's Amanda's song. We toured with that, and the whole band would be playing right near the intermission. They'd leave, and it'd just be me and her, and I would just look down. I'd never looked up, and it was just all her.
It's a beautiful song.
I remember her doing it at the Arc when we did like 9 dates, and then came down and did the Arc. I mean, the place pin drop.
Who did you take vocal inspiration from when you were finding your own voice?
I guess I liked like Jack Johnson style, just like
that makes
with
sense.
The writing, especially kind of the hip hop, the doobity-bobbity, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Just I like the cadence of, but his kind of laid back singing. He can sing nice notes, but he's not like, I can't do vibrato. So I tried to do a voice lesson, and the lady's like, just don't change anything. So, all right. But then there's a guy, Brent Cobb, who I listen to a lot right now, who's a
producer.
He sings kind of this similar. He's more Southern, but he sings kind of doesn't like sing super hard, and so I'm kind of trying to dial it back like that instead of trying to sing as loud as I can. Just kind of sing nice. We'll see though. It always ends up losing my voice at the bar gigs anyway. So
it pulls them in.
Yeah,
when you do that,
I enjoy audiobooks read by the authors, and when I'm listening, I'm thinking of you as a recording engineer, and maybe you're considering this for a future thing, but I can't remember that much detail of my life, and I'm not that old. Like Jeff, you've given so much detail about your life, and I'm saying to Ben now, you're young enough to maybe start writing notes if you're ever thinking about doing an audiobook, because I couldn't tell stories about myself the way you tell your story.
Yeah, you forget a lot, but I'm a little lucky in that I can like look at a movie or a play I did, and I can remember maybe 4 things that are worth writing about, maybe. Mm-hmm. That helps. Little signposts of you were here doing this with these people, and here doing what'd you learn doing it with that, those people. So that helps, but part of me on my end is just trying to get it all down before I can't remember anything anymore. Yeah.
Start now.
Yeah.
And just, if you ever thought about doing one?
Yeah, and just thinking like that. When I hear a song from 2008, I can see exactly where I was. So let's use that for now.
It's kind of what the songs became. I mean, I have songs I wrote when I was sitting in that one-room apartment that are just god-awful, immature, young, overly dramatic, loneliness, whatever. And they'll never see the light of day. But it's like a musical diary. And that's what it ends up kind of being. Not that anybody will ever see them or hear them, but that's kind of, instead of journaling, I kind of did that. I didn't know I was doing it, but I did it.
You've always been a supporter of Things Michigan. I mean, I know you're a big Tigers fan, and Purple Rose Theater you created in your hometown in 1991. What was the purpose at that time in your head? What was the reason for starting it? I'm glad you did, by the way.
I was creatively bored. I had moved home to raise the kids here. Kathleen and I were both from Chelsea, and I just didn't want to be in Hollywood, and New York was really expensive. And I also didn't think the career would last. They don't.
Yeah.
They just don't. And so at least I'll be home when it all falls apart. And I've succeeded enough along the way to keep it going. But I was playing golf, and creatively I missed what happens on a movie set. You get all these imaginative people creating this, that, actors, writers, the designers, everything's. And then the same thing in the theater too. So I said, maybe I can create a circle repertory company like I was in New York City off Broadway. Maybe I can create that here. And I also wanted to write plays. I had been around Lanford Wilson and a few other playwrights, and I knew I could be funny. I wanted to take a shot at that. I wanted to learn how to do that. So let me build a theater, and the second play we do is mine. But now I got to find actors and writers and designers, and that was, I think it was 15 years before we really had the writers. They were the last to kind of find. You know, you don't hire one playwright. You produce one play, but I'm looking for a playwright. I want to produce a playwright because I want your next 5. But you got to be serious about this, you know. And so that took a while to find. But, you know, and now I'm back in it as the artistic director, and it's kind of like the third act of my life. The acting career has been great. I'm still doing it, but I'm not chasing it like I used to, because I kind of want to be here. I want to write for here. I want to build this company back up. I want to bring in an audience to theater, which if you read the New York Times, the American regional theaters are dying, and they are. And how do we get an audience now? And so it's a wonderful challenge, and I'm kind of in there and enjoying it far more than I thought I would. The play we're doing this fall is Diva Royale, which we did 2018 maybe, and I wrote it, and I've kind of I've rewritten it, and I'm directing it. We put it up in 2 weeks, and we've been in rehearsal for 2 weeks. So I'm enjoying that, cool. And so the Purple Rose is also alive and well, you know, and it's kind of exciting to kind of get in there and look at the next 10 years, you know. So
lucky enough to live close to be able to go to plays there or performances of some sort, 40 minutes away from my home, not too bad. So lucky enough to be close enough to see it and see it on the I-94 sign as an attraction that you can get off at the next exit and see, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I know you're a big Tigers fan. We briefly discussed that. You're probably, do you enjoy more the radio or the TV side as a fan?
It depends. MLB TV helps when I'm sitting in New York. I can watch and listen to the Detroit broadcast, so that's changed. But we were just in New York doing a promo for at CBS Mornings, and the night before we, made a phone call, and next thing you know, we're Yankee Stadium, sitting in the dugout. It was great. In September. We go to games in September. We do. Yeah.
Good.
It was great. Got to meet the players, talk to AJ a little bit, the broadcasters later.
Dan Dickerson, right?
Who?
Dan Dickerson.
Dan Dickerson.
Right.
Spent a lot of time with Dan. It's these guys are lifers.
Who do you think should replace Jim Price? Have you been listening to his subs since he's passed away?
Hard to say. I'm not listening to enough of them.
Okay.
I really like Simo, and I really like Cameron Maben. They're smart. They've got energy. They they know baseball, and I like broadcasts where they're talking to baseball fans who want to know more about baseball.
Yeah.
And they do that really well. So do some of the other guys too. But
Andy Dirks has really impressed me. Actually.
Andy, yeah, I've a couple, not many innings of Andy, but that just don't give me a pretty voice.
Right.
Give me somebody who's going to teach me something I don't know about baseball every night.
Who's been on the field too is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Somebody's seen it,
Seems
seen the ball flying at them.
The organization seems to be actively seeking those kinds of co-hosts for.
Seem to be, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that about that. You got yourself into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Are you familiar with the baseball songs of Chuck Brodsky, who has, I think, 18 songs in there?
18 songs in there?
I think he does.
Damn it. I thought I was like setting a precedent.
Have you seen Chuck before?
I do know of his stuff and knew he had done some baseball stuff, yeah. And Stevie Goodman's The Last Dying Cub Fan Request, I knew. That was the one that triggered lifelong Tiger fan blues, hearing Stevie Goodman's. But
I figured as much.
Yeah, I was very proud that when Cooperstown called about the Al Kaline song.
Well, you can see Chuck and challenge him. He's got 2 dates in Michigan in October nearby. I think one of them actually is in Jackson, the other's in Ann Arbor. So you're right in the middle. I'd recommend it. He was a previous podcast guest, a real good guy as well. Lifelong Tiger fan blues. Yes, I recognize that as perhaps a coincidence that Steve Goodman was one of your inspirations, and he's got a dying Cub fan's last request. I don't know if.
Yeah, that was the one. There are maybe 10 versions of Tiger Fan Blues. I remember one third verse. I rhymed the entire roster.
Ooh.
Just to see if I could, and then
Chuck wrote one about the Armando Galarraga situation that is really impressive too, because that's.
the no-hitter that wasn't.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
But he focuses on the bad call, not necessarily. Yeah, it's a really well written song. Something to look into. Right. Speaking of songs, maybe this is the time we do the collaborative song. Tell me about what you're about to play.
This is when we tour. When I tour with Ben's band, I'll come out and open with Funny, and then I'll do something even funnier. And then the third song is a song that I wrote about all the things that my father said or could have said or probably did say at some point. And so I start into that. And as we get into it, then Ben would walk out. And they knew it was me and the Ben Daniels knew it was father-son. But then we surprised them with this. It always worked. My father said, son, you best treat everyone just the same. You got your winners and losers, and the rest of us are just staying in the game. He said life is a gift. If you're lucky, you'll get to live it every day. Helps to believe in something when you're falling to your knees to pray. He said forever is forever. Tomorrow's here, yesterday's gone. And if you give it a try, the truth will decide right from wrong. He said for every man who stumbles, there's another man who's fallen to the floor. Boy, you best understand your helping hand is the only thing that man is hoping for. He said always be looking for the good on the bad side of town. Even the high and mighty end up 6 feet deep in the ground. And a poor man ain't nothing but a rich man who's getting kicked around. Boy, you best always be looking for the good on the bad side of town. said, far too few just sit back, far too many fade away. And I know nothing's guaranteed, that's far too high a price for some to pay. He said, bad luck just happens. Sometimes dreams don't come true. By being kind to strangers, you run the risk of them being kind to you. He said, always be looking for the good on the bad side of town. Even the high and mighty end up 6 feet deep in the ground. And a poor man ain't nothing but a rich man who's getting kicked around. Boy, best always be looking for the good on the bad side of town. He said, I'll never understand why money makes the man, or so they say. Hell, I never needed sunshine to know when I had it made in the shade. He said, Jesus had compassion, so don't let yours go out of fashion. That's what he said to me. Son, the poorest man you ever saw might be the richest man that you will ever see. He said, always be looking for the good on the bad side of town. Even the high and mighty end up 6 feet deep in the ground. And a poor man ain't nothing but a rich man who's getting kicked around. Boy, you best always be looking for the good on the bad side of town.
My guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, Jeff and Ben Daniels, doing a song, I assume, called "Bad Side of Town."
Yeah, good on the bad side of town. Yeah,
Bad Side of Town.
Yeah.
One that is that one recorded?
We just did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
on a live, like a live in concert.
Yeah,
I have that
Acoustic
one. Digital
or something.
You were releasing things physically for a while, and then they kind of went to going digital only, and then that's. I mean, I would consume it that way, but I'm more likely to consume a CD because I still have a CD player in my car, believe it or not, and that's still my preferred way of hearing music is isolated in my car with.
Not vinyl.
No, I like vinyl. I grew up with vinyl, but if I had my entire record collection on record again, it would make my house cave in because I have a lot. I have about 18,000 CDs. I've been in the music industry since 1985, so I've been consuming it in.
There's something about vinyl.
I like it.
I got a little record player up there. I put, the old Arlo Guthrie record on that I bought in '74, and something about it.
It's a warm feeling.
I
like it. Well, nice collaboration. I enjoyed that. Thanks for doing that. And it made me think about all the other collaborations you've done. I mean, when you first were putting out records, you were collaborating with some of Michigan's finest musicians. I know my friend Brad Phillips has been on your record. Dominic, formerly Sucha, now Davis.
I got him before he went big.
I know, before he was Jack's bass player. How did you discover musicians to pick? Like, how did you choose? Like, who?
Well, I kind of forced my way into this scene. I was not, it was the same thing with the Purple Rose. There were theaters here before us, and then I kind of opened one, and, there was some resentment. Oh, really? And the same thing with an actor with a guitar. I get it. I completely get it.
But
I
didn't
care.
Player, though. Do you know that?
Huh?
You're a really good guitar player.
I'm a really good finger picker. I can do that. There's music theory stuff that just like Latin or algebra to me, and forget it. That's where a Brad Phillips sits next to me, and it's a thrill because I can play and then let him go. Same with Ben's band. I mean, you just start. I remember Road Signs we were doing. I think you played that 4-string tenor guitar thing on it, and mandolin. Here comes Wes's fiddle. I mean, I love that stuff. And good musicians around you make your song better. So that's always been of interest to me, is playing with people who are better than I am, or play differently than I am. I do.
Well, beyond the local music scene, you collaborated with fellow actor Jonathan Hogan on a release.
Yeah.
That was something you talked about a little bit in the audiobook. But the Brian Vander Ark collaboration kind of surprised me. And I remember going to the show at the Frederick Meyer Gardens to see both of you, and was excited to see both of you, a friend of Brian's as well from way back. But that was like how did that come about?
I think Brian...
Was it the same management?
Yeah, at the time we were both with Jim Fleming, I think.
I know Jim as well.
He was the one who reached out and said, well, we met each other probably at a Joey Koster softball charity game. I remember seeing him there. I might have met him through Fleming.
You co-wrote a song maybe first?
Well, we would send stuff back and forth. Mm-hmm. He goes, hey, I've listened to your stuff. Could I send you a song I'm kind of working on? And because I'm stuck on the last verse. Happy, sure. And he'd send it, and I'd send alternatives, and here's what should happen. And usually it went darker.
Yes.
Because, the third verse.
The girl dying in the
there's
river.
a song called Overboard, and I don't know what to do with the woman who's threatening my relationship in the song. I said, kill her.
Yeah.
Kill her. Throw her overboard. It's overboard, right? Go up to Lake Superior and throw her overboard, and that's the last verse. Yeah. I just kind of given him permission to do that kind of thing instead of maybe worrying about who might record it, whether it'll work, because that doesn't even enter my mind on my stuff. I'm writing my stuff for me. And so we would do that a little bit, and then he said, maybe we should write something together. I said, yeah, okay. So I pulled some stuff up and wrote a couple new ones, and he wrote Another American Down. I remember we wrote right after the Minnesota killings of that African-American guy in the back seat of a car. And there was one in Texas, and then there was one, and so we wrote it in a day, and then, so that was kind of that, let's just write and put something up and share it, and, it was fun. It was great. I've been shooting a show in Pittsburgh over from November to April, and he came down. Brian came down for the weekend. Came to the set, and he'd been on a set before, but he came to the set, and then we went back to the rental house and played, wrote, and it was fun. Someone, a writer, another writer. It's like with Ben. We're in the middle of, what do you got? Are you stuck? Not that I jump in there, but we're always kind of hearing that it's a new one. I mean, this is brand new. This is like, this wasn't there a week ago. Mm-hmm. And that's it's like a flower blooming when you create art or something like that, song, painting, whatever. And to do that with Brian was let's see what we'd come up with no other intention other than just coming up with something and recording it, and that's it. We hope make our money back so we don't lose money, but that was kind of the whole point of it, and we did most of it right in here.
Did you explore his writing before that, like his material that he'd recorded?
Yeah, I knew.
His first 3 solo albums, I think, are incredible pieces of writing.
Yeah, and the voice he's got is from God. Yeah. So, I was happy to sit down with him and throw stuff at him, and you need a bridge here or whatever. You know, that's fun. It's fun. You're not like writing alone. You know.
Well, when you're not listening to records in the loft up here, how are you discovering? Do you discover new music anywhere? Radio, satellite radio, your son? I mean, do you like new music?
You probably discover and listen to them. I'm kind of, you know, I'm 68. I kind of know who I like, and you know, I want a deeper dive into Guy Clark versus new.
The next Guy Clark.
Yeah. Though I will chase people like Joe Bonamassa, writers with guitars. Yeah. Daryl Scott.
I kind of just cycled through the same ones like Brent Cobb and Tyler Childers and stuff. Listen to that a lot right now. Billy Strings even.
Billy Strings.
Cool.
Love Billy. Will Kimbrough's another one I like.
Used to front Will and the Bushmen. I remember that from when I worked at a record store, but nobody remembers those records except me. Brent produced a really good album for Myron Elkins. Have you heard that one?
All right.
Local Michigan guy.
Nice. Check it out.
Look into that one. You once visited the radio station that I worked at and were a guest DJ. I don't know if you remember doing that. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
I don't remember last week.
One of the things I had to do was find a clean version of one of the songs you wanted, or clean it up. That's just for me. That was a memory. If I had to find a clean version. It was at Todd Snyder's. The song about Seattle Blues.
Todd's got a few of those you got to clean up. Yeah. Todd Snyder's another one.
Yeah.
Guy's funny. He's out there, but he's funny.
Steve Polt's pretty funny.
Jason Isbell's another one.
Great rock.
Nobody writes like Jason Isbell.
No.
Nobody writes like Prine. Nobody writes like Lyle Lovett. Those are guys that jump out to me.
It's good stuff. The newest project is called Alive and Well Enough. It is recorded in this studio by Ben. It's Jeff's stories and songs. I learned a few fun things in the first season. We'll call it a season, right? Mm-hmm. Here are a few things that I picked up on. My perception, maybe whether it's right or not, but that a key to your success was confidence. You had confidence enough sometimes when you went to places, and then you won them over with your confidence. Correct or not correct? Did you feel less than confident in many of the situations when you were starting out?
Certainly as an actor, I was against the wall. Please don't make me do the acting exercise in front of the 30 people that are better than I am. I was certainly that kid. But you learn real quick in New York that you got to jump off the cliff and start flapping your arms and hope you fly. Whatever that audition is, or whatever you're doing, you got to be all in. And it helps if you've prepared. It helps if whether it's a role, or, you know, you're going to do a show and the New York Times is coming tonight and they can make or break you. Certainly whether you have a job or not. And that's how it was back in the 70s and the 80s with the New York Times. One guy could kill a show. And do you fold, or do you rise up and be better than you've ever been? And and a lot of it has to do, and it still does, with preparation, of doing 7/8 of the work before the day you do it. And I had to do that on Newsroom. That's where I've done it, but I really had to do it on Newsroom because of all that dialogue.
It's amazing work.
And so you have to prepare. The weekend is spent memorizing 30 to 40 pages of mountains of dialogue. You can't change a word, and you have to say it 100 miles an hour because that's the Sorkin speed.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to know it cold by Sunday night before that week of shooting, so that you can do it off book at 100 miles an hour, Sorkin speed. Not just Monday and Tuesday, but also get Wednesday and Thursday going, and also Friday, because Friday's the one where you got the big speeches, you know. All that stuff. It's you know, there's a difference between, and I learned this watching Meryl Streep. There's a difference between good and great. Good is, you work really hard, but it's also a very close cousin to good enough. And great, the people who are great outwork the people who are satisfied with good. And she would come on a set, and it looks like she doesn't know what she's doing at all. But there's no sides, there's no script, there's no nothing, and then they say action, and it's all there. And she's ready to go because she's worked on it. You know, Newsroom people, Jane Fonda got on Newsroom, and when she was going to do it, she emailed me. She said, "Tell me what to do." I said, "At 6 a.m, you have to know it and know what you're going to do with it. And if you do, you might be great." And she was. Jane showed up. Yeah. Jane showed up.
She did. There's a version of that story in the audiobook, in Alive and Well Enough. We're trying to get people to listen. One of the fun facts that I would never have expected to be in there is that you saw Sid Vicious's corpse. What? That this was like, I would never have guessed that about you.
That was the view from my apartment on 23rd and 7th, and he was coming out of on a gurney, sheet over him, of the Hotel Chelsea, which is 2 buildings down.
Seen the pictures.
Surprising story.
That's wild.
Episode 8, we hear a very young Jeff singing in a sweet voice that is, I mean, it's not that your voice isn't sweet now, but it was younger and sweeter, and it just was like, wow, that's almost like a different person. Of course,
that's what surprised Ben. I think he was.
I thought maybe it was the tape machine being sped up or something.
It was this child.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock after. I mean, I have all of your albums, so I've heard you sing since your first album, and there's always going to be some progression of voice where it gets a little bit more gravelly.
It's one of those archivals way off the reel-to-reel machine.
Something people can look into when they join the Audible train there. You learn to ride a horse out of necessity rather than desire. Another interesting story.
Yes.
One that I was entertained by quite a bit. And I was also entertained that you were capable of interviewing yourself and singing Mockingbird with yourself as a duet, which I don't know how one does that.
Well, it was like mixing an album.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, you record the mandolin, you record the guitar, you know, and then, so I would write it, and then I would kind of do 1 or 2 lines at a time, leave a space, and then I would reply, and then tighten it up, and then bring this over, but now you can also interrupt yourself because you're on 2 different tracks.
Yeah, just drag it in.
So now which, for the audiobook people who might be listening to the thing, they're not used to that.
No.
It's one person reading the entire book, and there is no overlapping. But I enjoyed that. That was fun.
It's a highly entertaining piece of work, and this is just season 1 with hopefully more to come. Season 2 on the horizon soon. Do we know a release date? Do we have a locked in?
No, not yet. We're
negotiating.
Still, I think they're about to. We're handing over season 2 like in the next week or 2.
Okay.
So
they bought seasons 1 and 2, and they called and said send us season 2 now, and so which we were thinking, I don't know, maybe it'll be now, maybe it'll be January. We didn't know. We're new to this, but all of a sudden it said send us season 2. Okay, so I'm going to write 3 and 4 in November and December, in case they want that.
Yeah. Congratulations on this new project. It is a lot of fun to be listening to it and getting a chance to talk to you about Alive and Well Enough. Would you like to close with another song that may or may not be included in season 1 or 2? A song of your choice. I don't care what it is.
I was driving on a Route 2 all the way across the top of the country, coming from Vancouver back to Michigan, and driving through Montana. And I was driving like 14 hours a day in an RV all by myself. And your mind starts to wander, and you start to talk to yourself and get in arguments with yourself. Period of time where I wasn't even talking to myself. And you go by things, and as soon as you go by them, you forget them. And then there are other things that you go by them, and you remember them forever. Somewhere in eastern Montana, out where the crosswind blows, out where the Lord out where nobody knows. Out by the side of the highway, out by turning the road, I saw some flowers on a small white cross. I saw where God called you home. My old 416, my old 416, my old 416. And I can see the sirens screaming down the road, and I can see the tow trucks flashing lights, and I can see your sweet soul letting go into that Montana night. And I can feel the barbed wire hug that broken post, and I can hear the wheat field cry in pain, and I can see the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost riding that great northern train. My old 416, my old 416, my old 416. And I do not know your name, and I will never know you well, but if it's all the same, yours is a tale I will tell. My old 416, my old 416, my old 416.
Mile 416, Jeff Daniels on Acoustic Alternatives. Jeff and Ben allowing me into the studio
2188.
2188. What's the studio name significance?
Oh, when we started it 10 years ago, my brother and I, he was doing video and I was doing the audio. And when we played hockey together, I was 21, he was 88. So teamwork.
Makes sense.
But, yep. Now he's off running the Purple Rose Theater, and I'm
at the Purple
just
Rose.
21 now.
Doesn't have time for us anymore. Yeah.
But that's all right. Now it's a golf studio.
There we go.
Yeah.
I would have almost expected, because now that you're a grandfather, you
Yeah.
played grandfather's hat, which is a favorite of mine as well, but he made you a grandfather. It's all good.
Yeah, I got grandfather's hat. There's also when Della, his 5-year-old now, was 6 months or something.
Yeah.
I was the last one to babysit for her because, I think just no one else could, and so finally I had to. So I babysat her and on the porch, and I ended up writing a song, Grandpappy's Babysitting Blues, which was fun. So there's 2 of them now.
This was fun. Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you.
me here and for telling me your stories and sharing music with me. It was quite a pleasure. If you enjoyed this as a listener and you want to hear more things, this is episode number 66 of something I started in the pandemic. 12 of those episodes had a sponsor. The other 50-some did not. And recently somebody said, try Patreon to get support. So I'm on Patreon. If you go to johnbomarito.com and hit the Acoustic Alternatives tab, there's a spot there that maybe you can choose to support. You can check out podcasts I did with people we mentioned, Brad Phillips, Chuck Brodsky, Brian Vanderwerk, have all been previous guests on the show. And they're all there either in video or audio form for eternity. So people can enjoy them forever. This episode 66 will likely get me to 5,000 listens, not to count the video views as a separate thing, but this will probably get me there. So nice. I'm feeling like there's some accomplishment going on.
There you go.
I've been having fun doing it, and I really appreciate your time today.
We're happy to help. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.